Yesterday, we were looking for a bit of a bounce attempt on Bitcoin and then likely closing out the day sideways, mostly unchanged, with the real focus being today, Wednesday, where the real direction could be chosen, maybe even alongside the good old FOMC meeting later today, or I don't even know if there's actually one going on. I just read that on the internet. It doesn't really matter, to be honest with you, as far as what I'm concerned with, but it could be a good impetus for, for direction. At the end of the day, it seems like no one really talks too much about these macro events anymore, aliens. Macro. I think most people have figured it out at this point. Anyways, we'll get off that topic. We'll get on to the topic of today. Of course, I do want to be going over not just follow-up of the last day of analysis, because we've kind of already seen that play out. Obviously, Bitcoin went sideways and did try for that bounce. But what is the major things to be aware of today that, if met, would actually imply that Bitcoin's going to continue here, and if not met, which would imply Bitcoin is going to continue with a correction here, actually. Other than that, I'm going to welcome you back to the Krown Crypto channel. Don't know what day it is, and it doesn't matter anyways. So you know what, we're just going to go right into the charts of the day. So first things first, I did want to follow up on this chart, the daily time frame for CME. We do see a few drives of bearish evidence come off the last couple highs here, which does imply that we very likely see at least a correction down somewhere around that yellow 21 exponential average. Now you could argue that we've already kind of seen that, and fair enough, it's pretty damn close there. It's also in alignment with the last gap that we did see on CME from Friday the 1st of December, a couple weeks ago, and ultimately that would put CME somewhere around mid to low $39,000 territory. Of course, there is about a few $100 premium over spot price action, so that could put spot, a little bit below 39 in that case. Now, ultimately, if this were to happen, sometime around today's later event, that'd be a pretty damn good catalyst for just throwing a wick somewhere down around there, and then a real bounce attempt. Because today is the day that if the Boolahs actually were going to put in a bear trap right here, this would be it. This would be it. And so far, things are kind of shaping up to not have denied the possibility of that just yet. It hasn't obviously confirmed it as a primary situation, but it is it hasn't been denied just yet, which. It's like Schrodinger's cat. It's like Schrodinger's trend. Is it up or down? It's both at the same time. No, obviously it's still up. But I do want to go over here into the probabilities for today, being Wednesday. We are looking at all daily closures for Bitcoin having an aggregated amount of just under 46% closing positively. So a little bit, if you were to flip a coin, it's a little bit in favor of, of the downside, or a negative return, negative growth. That's always a funny fucking term as well. It's like, you can't just say it shrunk, it shrunk. But it's like, these are like jokes that you'd fucking tell at a macroeconomic event, which, god damn, I'd fucking hate to be at one of those. Jesus Christ. Could you imagine people, did you read the CPI today? It's like, go fuck yourself. And go suck my PPI. And we can see that Wednesday, again, for the days that have closed positively, has returned an average of about 2.5%. That's actually a very interesting number right here, just because 2.5%, if Bitcoin were to pop back up above 2.5%, and play out 2.5% to the upside today, by closure, well, that would put Bitcoin where? That would put Bitcoin at about 42,500. That's a really fucking important number, actually, because if Bitcoin were to put in a bear trap exactly from this region right here, essentially just kind of bouncing off that yellow 20 simple and just bouncing and continuing, then what essentially would we see over here? Well, we can see that Bitcoin would pop back up into the blue 50% of historic returns range lows on the 12-hour time frame, and also I believe on the daily as well. Yeah, on the daily as well. But I think this one just kind of gets things a little bit better as of right now. And I imagine that probably coming into tomorrow, we're going to see the median also flip down around to about 42.5 as well, or 42.4, somewhere around there. If Bitcoin starts to pop back above there and close above there, that would confirm this as a bear trap for me. And I would be looking for Bitcoin to play out a quick move, relatively quick move, back up to the current highs of this rally, and very likely beyond, closer to 46,000 bucks actually, probably in the coming week. But of course, that remains to be seen. And as long as Bitcoin is below 42,400, technically speaking, a short-term continuation of this correction to the downside, is not theoretically more likely, like it is more likely just by the nature of things, right? Of course, Wednesday does have a slightly greater probability to close negatively here, with an average return of negative 2%. So if it did play out that, it's actually rather interesting, because we have already seen that move essentially down to the yellow 21. So that does really make me consider that there is a strong possibility for a bear trap here, and Bitcoin continues upwards and onwards. I'll give you the other side of that as well. Let me see, what time do we have right here? Oh yeah, 5 minutes. Okay, we got plenty of time. Yeah, I'll give you the other side of that as well. But first things first, looking at the 4-hour time frame on the Oracle Pro, I just wanted to follow up on the sell signal that we did see a few days ago on Sunday/Monday. This one's already met its first sort of average take profit over here with that purple check mark. So if you were playing that, if you were looking at that, not because this is not financial advice and this is not a fucking signal service, although this indicator is like, it's kind of a signal, I guess. That one's already saying, hey, if you're being more reasonable, you probably already saw the most of that move. To be fair, things are kind of wedging themselves into a bit of a descending triangle here on the lower term timeframes, as we do see, declining of lower highs, maybe another attempt at 41.6 overall. But, even on the short term timeframes, as long as Bitcoin's below about $42,000 on a closing basis, downside would be more likely. So if you are betting on a bear trap here, what you're really betting on is kind of a flip around these levels, probably in alignment with the FOMC release later on today. Of course, because it would mark out as a descending triangle, you would have a technical target, which I suspect is going to be pointed down somewhere towards what we spoke about earlier. Oh, what do you know? Low $39,000. Very fucking interesting. Lines up with the other things as well. If that were to play out. So you can kind of see the areas of interest for both sides here. Not that I'm trying to play both sides. Sorry, I called both sides, so I can't be wrong. It can also go sideways as well. The classic fucking joke. No, it's about the probabilities, it's about the areas of interest, it's about, where things start to flip around from a statistical perspective. So, with that in mind, yeah, that would be confirmed basically below the low side of this range, or just, a tick below the lows, which is like 40,400 or so. Anyways, okay, so we've got that. What else did I want to get into? We went over this. Yes, we can also go over traditional markets. Just wanted to follow up on them because NASDAQ is once again, very, very close to making new all-time highs, actually. So we went over this. I just wanted to follow up on this really, really quickly, just because in August we called out a major, a major read on the McClellan oscillator, plus a few other things as well, and in alignment with August corrections over the past 20 years that have aligned with, new all-time highs within about a year. And I said that in August, people laughed at me and they spit on my chest, they spit on my face. No, they didn't really do too much of that, but they don't know what I did either. But it's looking quite likely here. Why am I bringing this up right now? So I can collect my clout like a goblin, you fuck. No, it's also because if traditional market's going up like this, especially NASDAQ, probably bodes well for the overall broader market, Bitcoin included, longer term. So the real question is how far down does this current correction take Bitcoin? And I have a chart for that. Because right now we've already seen about about 9-10%, something like that. Yeah, about 10%. All right. So here's the thing. I saw a great post on Twitter by Mr. Jason Pizzino, a good friend, that I kind of wanted to play off of, because I thought that he did a really good job with this. And if you're for whatever reason not familiar with Jason Pizzino, but you're only familiar with me, then you should definitely go check him out. He's great. Him and his brother, actually, Michael is amazing as well. But yeah, he posted a chart basically going over the average corrections that Bitcoin's been seeing this past year. And as you can see, they're pretty consistent: 21%, 20%, 21.5%, so on and so forth. And he was saying over here, if we see that trend continue on, where would 20% to the downside put Bitcoin? That put Bitcoin at about 36,000, 35,500, somewhere around there. Doesn't seem out of the question, I suspect. Did kind of miss this correction over here. I don't know if you'd fully put that one in, but it was about 9%. Thus far, like I said, we have about a 10% correction. But here's the thing. I wanted to go deeper on this because there's no point in just like reiterating someone else's analysis without adding something to it. So I hope to do some justice to this. And what I've done is I've gone through the full history of Bitcoin here. And what I've done is I've gone through the full history of Bitcoin here, and we can go back to the prior cycle. Actually, throughout the uptrend, it was very interesting to find that all of the corrections were actually at around that 20% marker. This was for the 2020 to 2021 cycle, I should say. All of these were around that 20% marker, some a little bit more, some slightly less, but basically in that vicinity, which is interesting, right? If we go back a little bit further, we see again in this one's actually a little bit more. We see again in 2019, 20% correction right there almost, and then another 14% correction right there. Again, you're starting to kind of get it. But, if we go back further to 2017 to 2018, the corrections were, again, all around the same number, but a different number this time. This time it was about 30%, a little bit above 30%. All of them kind of coming in around that level. So again, there seems to be like a flavor of the cycle correction amount. And what's the flavor of the cycle going to be for this particular one? And by the way, yes, we can go back further than this as well. Another 25% one right there, another 25% one right here. Interesting. These ones both 40% for this cycle. These ones all about 50% for this cycle. Really fucking interesting, by the way. This goes all the way back to 2010. So it really does seem that, once we do see the corrective phases happen, those seem to repeat pretty fucking close to each other over time. And the real question is over here, is 20% the flavor for this cycle? And should we expect 20% over here? Is this the big correction that a lot of people might be looking for? I don't know. But if it does, what number is probably going down towards. So again, just another area of interest. Could the real correction come from higher? Well, here's the thing. I wouldn't even consider this actually a concerning correction until at minimum Bitcoin is closing below that yellow moving average, which is a 20 simple. Why is that? Because, well, in all of these prior corrections, that's when they fucking happened. Broke the 20 simple over here, down 20%. Broke the 20 simple over here, down 20%. Oh, same thing over here, same thing over here, same thing over here. And the over here, you get where I'm going with this. You can go all the way back to the genesis. I won't bore you with that detail yet again. But as of right now, where is that coming in around? It's coming in at 40,500. So daily closure below there. Okay. Long-term corrective territory. Very likely we do see, that next sort of $38,500 target hit. Probably an attempt for a bounce there, but probably not a reversal there. Probably that bounce likely fails, and we do see lower, maybe closer to $36,000 or so, or something like that. So I think that's probably a good place for me to be leaving off on this particular video. I suspect that today we will we will have this situation likely clarified. As long as Bitcoin remains above there, hopium for a bear trap is actually not just is not just present, but it actually becomes a little more likely, especially at the end of today. Bitcoin back above 42,400 on a closing basis, daily that is. Then and that's on spot price action. I should also add that's also another signal that I'd look at for confirmation of a bear trap with higher prices inbound in the next week or two. And and on the other side, it's pretty damn simple, below 40,400 or 40,500 on a daily closure. Expect the correction to continue much further down with bounces along the way, mid 38s. And then you got the next ones for probably like 37 or 36. All right. That's going to do it for today. I forgot to mention that I made another post on Twitter. We're going to do the same thing that I have been doing for the past few weeks here now, which is just doing like a quick alt analysisation for 3 different alts, whatever you're interested in. Just show it over here, and whatever the 3 most requested are, I'll look at, which has actually been pretty interesting for me because I've actually found some pretty like just charts that I wouldn't have seen otherwise, basically. And so hopefully that can both help you and help other people out there as well, and even myself too, which would be cool. And also I can just farm the engagement as well, because these do the best for those posts. I don't know fucking why. People just love their shitcoins. Fair enough. That's enough for today. As always, it's been a nice little pleasurable Wednesday morning, very pleasurable for me. And I'll be signing off on that note. With that said, take care, much love, and see you hopefully Thursday.